Hello everyone, it's Monday and time for Monday Musings again. Today I'm working with these dies. They're from Sizzix. They're long dies, so they need extended cutting pads. And they're developed by Eileen Hall. And one of them is they're 3D boxes, and this one has 3 different sizes. And this one is a little bit bigger box. Oh my goodness, dropped my camera. And then we have this one. And this is just one size, and they're long dies. Here, this one is easier to take out right now. So they're long dies. You need your extended cutting pad, and this one has 3 different boxes, 3 different sizes of boxes. Then it has a little heart and a flower too that you can cut out. And the other one has an ABC that you can cut out also. So I did some of the prep work, and of course I'm using Graphic 45 paper. And the first one that I'm using, this is some older paper that I just love it. I love vintage and retro, and this one is an older Graphic 45 pad. It's called an ABC primer. And I cut out, you want to cut out 2 each of these boxes. So what I did is I cut out chipboard. This is just an old piece of chipboard from something else that I bought a while ago. And then I cut out the paper and I glued it to the chipboard. And so you have to do 2 of each. So here's one, and then here's my chipboard for my other set that I need. So let's go ahead and glue our Graphic 45 paper to that. And I'm using matte medium. You can use any glue that you want. I recommend either wet glue or the score tape or the red line. But for this part, because I want to have the paper welded to it, to my chipboard, then I'm using a wet glue. So I'm putting that on, and I've already done my foldings, because once you put this on, you won't be able to see that where those foldings are on this side. So you want to do that first so that you have a guide. So I'm going to put some pressure on that and smooth it out. You can use a brayer to smooth if you would like. So I have it now, but I still have my folds, so I know where I'm going with this. Okay, so there's the little one. Let's do the big one, or the medium one. I'm using an old scraggly paintbrush to spread my glue, and I will wash the glue out of it, but I will continue to use this for glue only, because it won't be any good for painting with after being used for glue. Okay, so there's this one. Put that down there. And also, the wet glue gives you a minute to correct your positioning if you need to, where red line tape will not. Okay, got that on there. And I'm not really folding it right now till it dries, because as you see, the ends want to come up. But I'm just kind of bending it in that direction, just so that I know where it is, where those directions are. Okay, and one more. Matte medium glue and seal. Those are both excellent for this type of adhesion. I always use one of the two, matte medium or glue and seal, when I'm covering chipboard with paper. If I'm building an album or a structure like I am right now. And I'm used 8x8 paper, And with this die, you can do that, but you get just a little bit of the border, but that's okay because I just made it on the part where I'm going to fold it in, and it's going to be hidden. So you can get, you know, the most out of your paper that way. I don't often buy the 12 by 12 stashes because I mostly work in mini albums and cards and small things like this. But with the other die that we're going to use, you do need 12 by 12. But I can show you a way around that as well. Okay, so I've got my 3 pieces glued, and I'm going to let those dry for a little bit. And we'll put that together a little later. Now I want to show you the larger of the 3D blocks, and it also comes with ABC here. ABC. And what I did for this one is I took some black chipboard, and I took, this one is the new paper range called Good Old Sport. Absolutely adore this. I'm a sports fan, and this is very masculine, but it also is feminine enough to use for a woman sports fan. And it's vintage and it's retro, so this one just fires on all cylinders for me, and this is Good Old Sport. And so what I did, because this is the bigger of the 2 dies, and you do need 12 by 12 because the 8 by 8 comes just about to here. It's just not long enough. And so what I did then was I took my 8 by 8 sheet of paper from Good Old Sport, and I cut squares. I think they were 2.5 by 2.5, and so then I mounted those on my 2 chipboard dies. And so now I'm able to use my 8 by 8 paper to make what I want by using a chipboard back. Now you could do this with cardstock as well. This actually, it's a chipboard, but it's a very thin chipboard. It's about the weight of a cereal box. So you could take a cereal box and you could take your Tim Holtz paints, or any paints, any acrylic paints you want, and paint it the background the color that you want. I just happen to have some black chipboard. And so what I did was I used my matte medium to go ahead and glue on. Got a little bump of glue right there to glue on my decorations with the Good Old Sport, and then I put my score tape on each end. So I'm going to pull off the score tape, or the liner of the score tape, and you're making a cube, so you're not going to have any open ends. So if you wanted to make a box, you could rearrange these pieces, but we're making a cube, so we have to make sure of where we're going, and all these tabs are going to end up inside. So what you do is you have one this way and one this way. Okay, do you see the difference? One with the flaps on top, one with the flaps on the side, and you're going to push them into each other. So I'm going to start by putting this tab right here in this center place, and I did not get it even. I did not. Let me see if I can save that real quickly before the score tape grabs. Okay. Alright. Well, now I didn't do real well with that. Oh, you know, here's a good way to make sure that you're going to match it up right, is just butt it up against each other and then pull it down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my score tape, because you never, you know, you can always fix or modify a mistake, you know, before you give up. Try that. So I'm going to put my score tape right here on this edge. I got got it a little bit too long. Okay. Take off the liner. I'm going to butt it right up against it and fold my tabs down. Okay, so the first adhesion I made a mistake and showed you how to fix a mistake. You know, isn't that very usual for me? Okay, so now we're going to come here and we're going to butt this up against. Pardon my head if I get in the way, but I want to get this on here right. Okay. Alright, so we've got that. Now we've got to pull this up and we're going to slide it right inside there. Press down. And here's our last one. Now also, if you want to make this just a box lid, you can leave off your score tape and just fold it in, so that if you want to fill this with something, you can do that. So the last thing I'm going to do is just push this down in. There we go. Now this, you know, is kind of curled in a little bit, so I'm just going to take let's see. I'm going to take this metal ruler I have. You can take anything that's thin and flat and just kind of slide in there and pull it out, push it a little bit, and it will stay. Paper doesn't really have a memory, so you can work with it. Okay? And right here is my little edges where I messed up, but I think that I can trim those off fairly easily. Okay, so now I have my cube, and I'm going to use some embellishments. These are from the Good Old Sport chipboard tags, and so I pulled some of them out, and I noticed that there's a whole lot of little ones that came with that, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to glue these here and there, maybe in the corners like that, and that's one way I can decorate my cube. So this would make a nice little knick-knack for a boy's room or your significant other's room, your hubby's room. We can take this, put some glue on it, and there is a hole here that you can punch out, and I could put some twine in there, but I don't have any with me right now, so I'm not going to worry about that right now. Let's do it here. So you can decorate all sides if you wish, and you can even put that one up on top like that. I think that's pretty cool. Let's do that. Okay, decide which one you want to be the up end. So I'm going to put that right there. So you can have all kinds of fun decorating it, and I'll continue to decorate this off screen and then show the picture. But I want to keep going. And so I have another set, and this one, this paper is Sweet Sentiments, and that's a pretty new one, and it's really pretty, really feminine. Got these two sides, and I ran out of black chipboard, so I have, this one will be one that's, it's got two different weights of chipboard actually, but I don't think that's going to matter, so let's go ahead and glue these. So you can make this these dies work for babies for men, for teens, for kids, for women. They're very, very versatile. And they're easily put together. Okay. And make sure I get a lot of glue down on these tabs because they're easily to pull apart. Use our brayer to smooth it down, and that distributes the ink, and it pushes the paper down into the ink, to the glue. I said ink, I meant glue. Okay, so we've got that. Now let me get this one, and I'm going to put the other side on this one. I'm kind of making a lot of work for myself because I got a small brush, but you can use a bigger brush if you got a bigger scraggly brush or a dedicated glue brush. Then you know this will go a lot quicker. But this was the scraggly one that I happened to grab today. Okay. Black chipboard is a little hard to see against my black mat. Okay. And you know, the mistake I just made with this one was not bending my folds, but I can see the big ones and I can see the little ones a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and kind of do that. Well, okay. So, while that's drying, now I'm coming back to this one. Now I'm going to use some Distress inks. I'm going to use Tea Dye and Shaded Lilac. So let me grab my applicator and my foam. Okay. I have just off camera. I have a storage container where I have a foam applicator for each color of my distressed inks, so that way I never have any carryover when I'm using more than one ink. So let's ink up this applicator, and I'm going to add another dimension to this box by inking around the edges, and I'm doing this before I put it together because it's easier. Got it flat. We can put some pressure on it. Now you really don't have to worry about these ends because they're going to be in, but I just kind of did that out of habit. Okay, so there is my Shaded Lilac, and next I'm going to use Tea Dye because I like things to look vintage. So I'm coming down here and grabbing my Tea Dye foam, which I should have done before I turned the camera on. So I'm going to ink that foam. So now I'm just going to go around the edges again. I'm not coming in as far, and I'm going to add a little bit of brown to this, which ages it and adds that nice vintage look. Okay, so we've got that one. Now I'm going to come and do the same thing with this one. Let's go back to our Shaded Lilac. Now you could use, if you wanted to go with the blue, because there's some blue in here, you could go with Tumbled Glass. You could also go with I think dried marigold, would it be? Or spiced marmalade, one of the oranges, if you wanted to go with that color as well. So it's whatever color you decide to emphasize. I'm emphasizing the lavender because I'm using both sides of the paper. If you were just using this side of the paper, then you could choose whichever color you wanted to use to embellish on and deepen the color, add depth to this color. So I'm coming in here on the edges with my shaded lilac, and then the tea dye. The tea dye, I'm just getting those edges. I didn't need to do it on the Good Old Sport because the black edging that shows out around the designer paper acts as my shading. Okay, so I'm going to bring this back. I'm going to go ahead and do my folds. Okay, that's the chipboard. The cracking you heard was chipboard through the paper, and that's okay because when we put this together, then we'll come back again with our inks. And yeah, as a matter of fact, it'd probably be better to just do it now. So I'm going to get a little bit darker ink. That's my Dusty Concord, and so I'll change the foam. And go ahead and get these edges, because as I did mention before, it's easier to do it before you put it together. So let's no, it's right in front of me. Let's go ahead and fold this. This is the lighter weight chipboard, so I don't really have that cracking, but again, I'm going to do that because you do have some white showing when you fold it. Okay. So now we just need to apply our score tape to each of these ends. I love score tape because you can just tear it off. Got a little bit of stray paper there without having to balance and grab a pair of scissors like you do with the red line tape. Red line tape is great, but right now my current favorite is the score tape because it just works with me a little better. Okay. And again, you see that border is being hidden, so you can use it, save your paper a little bit that way. Okay. Now when I put this together, we're going with one sideways and one. Okay, let's see. Let's make sure I get it right again. Okay. This way. Okay. One up and down, one sideways. Okay. So, did I get the tea dye on? Yes, I did. Okay. Alright, so that we don't have the same goof up that we did my other box, then I will know how to butt up against each other to get started. Sorry. There. Liner wanted to stick. Okay, so we've got I got confused again. Here we go. Alright. So I'm going to butt these up against each other and then fold them down and adhere. Come over here, do the same thing. Make very sure of your placement before you push down. Again, I'm a little off. You know, some days you can measure and some days you can't. Some days are better than others for sighting. Alright. So, and you know, when you do it, you won't have to be doing it for the camera. So you won't have to worry about whether it's positioned so that you can see it on camera. So you shouldn't have as much problems as I'm having. Okay, so we've got that. Now let's do this one. Let's tuck it in there. Put your hand in. Burnish it. And the last one. Again, if you want to make this a flip open box, you can. Now I've got that pushed in a little bit, so I'm just going to take my steel ruler and pull it back out again. And I have my box. And now this one is a very feminine one, but it's also very vintage. Oops. Okay, so I'm going to push on that so that it'll stick, or if it doesn't, then we'll just have a flip open box. And I have some embellishments over here. They are Tim Holtz new embellishments. And of course, right off the top of my head, I've forgotten the name of these, but I will get it in for you. Here, let me let's put them on something else so that you can see them better. Something light. So you can easily glue on some of these embellishments and decorate your box even more. And a good idea would be to take your Tim Holtz paint and brush them over the metal and scrape it off a little bit so you have a little bit of color, but you also have some of your metal showing. So there's some decorating ideas. I also have a Sweet Sentiment sticker sheet, and there's a pretty butterfly. And so you can just add a sticker wherever you want to, and that's easily decorated. You could take the letters and spell out the person's name that you're giving it to. Here's some cute things. There's some borders on there, and there's also some corners on here. And let's go to one of the others. You can stick on some corners. So these are fun to decorate, and I'm going to stick that right there. Okay, so these dies are lots of fun to do. They're fun to make. We still have this one that we didn't put together. We can do that real quick before I end the video. Go ahead and put our score tape on them. But I think since this one is for a kid, I'm going to leave one edge that is not does not have score tape on it. And okay, yeah. So we'll just leave one end without the score tape so that we can have an opening box. Okay. And on this one, I want to make sure, since I've got some of this border here, I want to make sure that this is the one that is not part of the opening box. So I'll put the score tape on that one. Okay. So let's put our 3 boxes together. So, okay. Got to find the ones that I got the same sizes for. Alright. Do my thing. On these, I'm going to use Black Soot Distress ink. this is very retro, and I want to use the black. You could also use a nice dark brown, but I like the look of the black with the vintage. Now, since I'm not gluing this end in, then I'm going to put it on that end. Alright, almost finished, just a couple more to go. Okay. So let's put our three sets together. Let's start with this small one, and I'm going to pull off the score tape liner. Okay, so now we've got one sideways and one up and down. Okay, so I'm going to butt this up against it, and then press down. Come over to the other side and make sure where you are before you press down. Okay, and this one goes inside, and I can reach in there and burnish it, and now this one is just going to tuck in. Alright, so now I've got to come back in here with my black ink, and I've got to ink those wide edges. Okay, so there's our first one. Let's go with the next one. I think these would be a fun decoration for a teacher's shelf as well. Okay, do our cracking. And we'll come in here and cover those cracks with the black ink. Okay, get ourselves set up. Just get a little easier the more you do. Hold in this tab, reach in, secure it, and then we have our lid that just folds in. Alright, there's number 2, and our last one. Well, that one is not holding, so let me repair that guy. I may have to put another piece of score tape on it if I didn't get it on there correctly. There we go. Okay, so let's take the score tape off of our last box. Now you're only going to have this cracking with the heavier chipboard, so just, you know, be prepared for that. And that doesn't bother me because I like the heavy chipboard for the sturdiness. Alright, let's get ourselves set. You'd think, okay, that I could get this on the first try, but not so much. After 5 or 6 of them, you would think that, but nope. So in however order you want to put these together, you can do that. You will find the easiest way for yourself. And there's our last one that folds in. You can stack them up, and you can fill each one of these because each one of them opens. So you can put some treasures in there, some little gifts, some candy, and give it as a gift, and then they can keep their treasures in there. There you go. So thanks for hanging out with me on Monday, this Monday, and every Monday that you do. I appreciate it, and I love doing these videos, and I love that you come and watch. So see you next week. Bye.